The new immigrants became laborers, house painters, stone cutters, ditch diggers. They were often imported en masse by contractors. One Italian man, told he was going to Connecticut to work on the railroad, was taken instead to sulfate mines in the South, where he and his fellows were watched over by armed guards in their barracks and in the mines, given only enough money to pay for the railroad fare and tools and very little to eat. They were captured at gunpoint, ordered to work or die. They still refused and were brought before a judge, put in manacles, and 5 months after their arrival, finally dismissed. My comrades took the train for New York. I had only $1, and with this, not knowing either the country or the language, I had to walk to New York. After 42 days, I arrived in the city utterly exhausted. A traffic in immigrant child laborers developed either by contract with desperate parents in the home country or by kidnapping. The children were then supervised by padrones in the form of slavery, sometimes sent out as beggar musicians. Droves of them roamed the streets of New York and Philadelphia. As the immigrants became naturalized citizens, they were brought into the American two-party system, invited to be loyal to one party or the other. The immigrants are more controllable, more helpless than native workers. They were culturally displaced, at odds with one another, therefore useful as strikebreakers. Remember what we were talking about in the previous chapter. A lot of strikes are happening. People are trying to get laws passed. Strikebreakers are brought in. And so often their children worked, intensifying the problem of oversized labor force and joblessness. And in 1880, there were 1.1 million children under 16 at work in the United States. With everyone working long hours, families often became strangers to one another. Women immigrants became servants, prostitutes, housewives, factory workers, and sometimes rebels. So there was this woman, Leonora Barry, who joined the Knights of Labor, which was a union. And she was born in Ireland, but brought to the United States. She described the biggest problem of women workers through long years of endurance. They have acquired as a sort of second nature the habit of submission and acceptance without question of any terms offered them, with the pessimistic view of life in which they see no hope. In 1884, women's assemblies of textile workers and hat makers went on strike. The following year, New York cloak and shirt makers, men and women, went on strike. The New York World called it a revolt for bread and butter, and they did win higher wages and shorter hours. So it's something important to remember. Strikes work. Strikes work. Yes, all the tactics will be used in order to thwart those strikes by the people who own these companies and these businesses, but they do work, but it requires people to come together.